Thank you for your time. Questions. Are you currently selling coconut products in our local market or are planning to? It is not easy. Selling coconuts to the Philippines is like selling an electric car to Elon Musk or an iPhone to Apple. It is because we already have so much coconuts. Think of any imaginable product from coconut like buko pie, virgin coconut oil, coconut cooking oil, or coconut biodiesel. We will already have that here in most cases. And if you will be selling to the major supermarket chains, do you know how many days before you can collect your money? In most cases, 90 to 120 days. Stick around for 15 minutes. Let us answer those. I will also show you how our company, Hancole, an MSME company, was able to address those. The outline of my talk is the following. Number 1, challenges and opportunities in the local coconut industry. Number 2, strategies. Number 3, the Philippines EFTA Free Trade Agreement. And number 4, the Hancole experience. Let's go to number 1. The first big challenge is the high intensity of competition in the local market for coconut-based businesses. We have so much coconuts that we are the number 1 exporter of coconuts in the world, not by choice, but by necessity. Our 110 million population is not enough to absorb our more than 1 million tons of coconut oil per year and related products. Unlike India and Indonesia, with 1 billion and 270 million population respectively. Next are the strict regulatory requirements such as the FDA license to operate and certificate of product registration, organic certificate, hazard analysis and critical control points, British Retail Consortium, and so on. Next, lack of access to credit. Our bank's favorite is to lend to the big companies, not to the MSMEs. Next, poor logistical infrastructure. This is due to our archipelagic geography and still largely undeveloped farm-to-market roads. As a result, we have a high cost of logistics compared to our neighboring countries. Last is the high cost of power. The Philippines, in fact, has the highest cost of electricity in Asia at 20 US cents per kilowatt hour. This is thanks to our heavy reliance on imported fossil fuels and uncompetitive market structures. The opportunities are the following. Increased global demand for coconut products. This demand is for products going to health and wellness, personal care, and perceived to be sustainable, renewable, and environment-friendly products. Next, unhampered expansions and integration of palm plantations in Malaysia and Indonesia. There is a pullback now in mature economies, such as in Europe, for palm products. Main reasons, they are one of the main culprits in massive deforestation and destruction of ecosystems. Next, continued high economic growth of the emerging markets, China and Southeast Asia. Next is the good relations with USA and Europe, which take up the majority of our coconut exports. Knowing these challenges and opportunities, the strategies become very clear. First is to export. The market in the Philippines is very competitive. The export market still offers a large opportunities even for MSME companies. Second is to export coconut products. We are the second biggest producer of coconuts in the world. Not only that, we are also the biggest exporter. When a foreign buyer needs coconuts, they will look to the Philippines first. Third is to export coconut products to markets with demand for coconuts. These markets are not just the big ones like the US and European Union, but also the niche markets like the countries in EFTA, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. This brings us to the third part of my talk, the Philippines EFTA Free Trade Agreement. The European Free Trade Association, or EFTA, is the intergovernmental organization of Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. It is the 9th largest trader in the world in merchandise trade and the 5th largest in trade in services. EFTA is the third most important trading partner in goods for the EU and the second most important when it comes to services. The EFTA Philippines Free Trade Agreement was signed on June 1, 2018. It covers trade in goods, trade in services, investments, intellectual property, government procurement, competition, and trade and sustainable development. It is part of our country's strategy to gain stronger foothold in the European market. We already have the European Union Generalized Scheme of Preferences, or GSP+, that provides for duty-free market access to 6,274 EU tariff lines. With Philippines EFTA FTA, we are expanding our market to non-EU member states. The last part of my talk is our Hancole experience. When Hancole was just starting in 2010, we recognized the challenges and opportunities of the MSMEs in the local coconut industry, as I mentioned earlier. In order to overcome the challenges and exploit the opportunities, we first had to be aware of our strengths and weaknesses as a company. These are the following. Number 1, no credit line with banks. Number 2, no credit line with suppliers. The coconut business in the Philippines is a cash business. Copra has to be purchased outright by cash. The same is true down the supply chain to manufacturing, trading, and distribution. Worse, retail outlets require very long payment terms. Next is quote-unquote trader middleman. By default, a customer wants to buy from the manufacturers themselves and not from a trader. They are perceived to add to the cost. Next is we have a small working capital. These are very large hurdles, but we also had our strengths, which are the following. Number 1, we are highly competent in international business and technical information on coconuts. We have a long years of experience working in the exports of coconut products and oleochemicals. Excellent communication skills. Do you know that the Philippines is number 1 in the world when it comes to business communications in English? That is working very well for us. Positive colonial influences. We were under Spain, a European country, for 400 years. We were also a colony of the US for 50 years. Our past colonial ties are working excellently for us in our export markets. In fact, the US and Europe are our biggest export markets for coconuts. Low overhead. Compared to other countries, the Philippines still has a relatively low overhead cost. Human resource. We have people with superb communication skills, excellent customer service, and hospitality are in the genes of the Filipino. Positive demographics. We are a young nation. While most developed countries are aging, such as Japan, Korea, Europe, our workforce is still very young. Effective government trade agencies. This was very beneficial for us. We tapped into the foreign trade posts of the Philippines for information. We also have efficient and effective Department of Trade and Industry, Philippine Coconut Authority, and even our foreign embassies. With these challenges, opportunities, strengths, and weaknesses, this now became our corporate strategies. Go local with cocoa, global distribution channels, guerrilla marketing, create alliances, optimize business and leverage with free trade areas, brand, improve trade financing, diversify, maximize use of information technology, and Filipina power. For our talk, I will share one of our experiences in the strategy, which is to optimize business with free trade areas. This is the Philippines EFTA Free Trade Agreement. We export our virgin coconut oil to our long-time customer in Switzerland. It is packed in retail glass jars. Initially, there were leakages in the container lids. This was remedied later on with better filling and packaging policies in the manufacturing facility. The jars had no label on it. The quality of the printing of the stickers in the Philippines is still substandard. We use the Philippines EFTA FTA in our certificate of origin. As such, our buyer is not paying any import duty. This was an advantage for us because we were also competing with Sri Lanka. They also make virgin coconut oil and much cheaper. Our customer in Switzerland made a thorough background check on Hancole. It helps that we have been exporting to the European Union already for many years. In EU, we export coconut methyl ester to Spain, CHC10 coconut methyl ester to Germany, virgin coconut oil to UK, and coconut cream, coconut water, refined, and virgin coconut oil to Poland. Yes, there are also challenges. We compete with other coconut exporting countries such as Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and even the other companies from the Philippines. But competition is more intense in the Philippines. Profitability is low. Payment terms are long. Sometimes you even have trouble in collections. Exporting to EFTA is much better. We only have a few customers, but they are very loyal. They pay immediately, and we do not have issues in dealing with them. In summary, I talked today on the following. Number 1, challenges and opportunities in the local coconut industry. Number 2, strategies. Number 3, the Philippines EFTA Free Trade Agreement. And number 4, the Hancole experience. Lastly, I would like to reiterate to our fellow Filipino exporters, especially the MSMEs like us. Number 1, export. Number 2, export coconut products. And number 3, export coconut products to high demand and niche markets such as the European Union and EFTA countries. Thank you for listening.